in thinking about how someone should start a bucket list, Roger, should they write it down? Should they tell someone else? Should they put a deadline on it?
Yeah, those are some of the things I would suggest. But I like to start off with talking about mindsets, right? And if you're going to go into this, you need to understand that the bucket list is your bucket list. And so I can sit here and give 10,000 different things on my list that I've done, and you might gravitate to some of them, but you also might not gravitate to any of them. So I encourage everybody to make their bucket list theirs, that they intentionally look at their life and what they're into and do that. I don't like to play golf. I hate golf. I've always hated golf. I have a good friend. His bucket list is to play around a golf in every single state. Awesome. How do you get that done, right? Let's do that. Let's get that done. I have another friend that just wants to learn how to cook Thai food really, really well. Okay, let's do that. Let's figure out what it's going to take to get you to start looking at each recipe and doing that. So I think you really have to understand that it's your list, it's nobody else's. The second thing I would do is to remember that it's a to-do list, right? The intention is that this is a to-do list. So you have to be able to cross the things off, right? This is not, I think, vision boards and dream boards, those have their place. They're good motivators. They can do things, but that's not what we're talking about here. And the example I give is that I'm a huge Saturday Night Live fan, have been since I was 7 years old. Second season into the show, I was probably watching it when I probably shouldn't have been. And I've always loved the show. And so it has been a dream, literal dream of mine to stand on that stage and say live from New York at Saturday Night Live during the opening sketch. Like, that is something that I would just absolutely, that would just bowl me over if I had a chance to do that. I promise that I would nail it. I promise that I would do great, but it's just, I would love to do that. I also know that there's only like less than 1,000 people in the world who've ever said those words on live TV to do that. I also know that the people that usually do it are either really, really smart comedians that are, in the cast, or people like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Tom Brady, or, people I am definitely not, right? And would take multiple decades to even get to that point of being at that level to be able to say that, right? So it's not that I'm killing my dream. It's me realizing that the actionability of that is probably pretty low, right? So I'm not going to put something on my list that I have to do 10,000 other things to get to it.
And frankly, someone else would decide if you could. Even if you did all the things, someone else will still say yes. And a bucket list, my understanding is that it's things that I actually can control.
Yes. To some extent. So like the other side of that is that something that is on my bucket list is that I would like to be an extra on a Star Wars TV show or movie. Just an extra. You can put a stormtrooper helmet on me. I will shoot the laser gun and miss everybody just like you're supposed to. I will, put a Jawa hat on me. I don't care what it is. I just want to say I've been on the set while they're taping, right? And although comes into that category where it's like somebody else kind of decides, it's not like a speaking role, right? It's not like you really have to be cast. So I think I could, if I wanted to do it, I know enough people that know enough people in LA that I could figure out some connections. I could probably make that happen if I wanted to, right? I could get out there and spend some effort, do some things that are probably out of my comfort zone, but I could make that happen. And so that's the kind of stuff that I want to try to put on my bucket list of things that I know I can achieve. Or that I can work towards achieving in a relatively easy fashion. And so that's important when you're thinking about putting a bucket list together.
Unfortunately, right now, my husband, who's going to hear this, is going to be an extra on a Star Wars film to his bucket list, because we've had 3 dogs. Our current dog is Boba Fett. Nice. So before that, we had Yoda and Vader, and it took a little bit of work not to name one of our sons Luke. So yes, I'm sorry. Maybe we should just give him the time code of this, and we can just make him fast forward so that doesn't. No. I'm just kidding. I would never crush someone's bucket list, but that's like right. For me, seeing the Northern Lights in Norway or Iceland is on my bucket list. Now I could go there and I still might not see it. So to me, it's about the adventure of trying to do that, which I can control. Whether or not Mother Nature cooperates, I can't control.
But you can, like, the seasons that's more
Right.
likely than not, and you can figure those things out. But yes, I mean, it is about being able to make sure that you can cross them off. It is a checklist, and then what it does is, if you do it right and you have things on there, you have to create another list for each item, because each item takes different things to do to make them happen, and so you create another list. So the first place I tell people to start is just take out a piece of paper and write bucket list on it. And that sounds so silly and so simple, but it was like, for me, I had all these things in my head that I kept in my head, but there's so much other stuff going on in my brain, like work stuff and family stuff and general life, and when's the next season of Ted Lasso on, and all these things that I have going on in my head that I'm worried about, that the bucket list stuff kind of gets shoved to the back, or it gets pushed someplace else, and I don't think about it as enough. But after I had the heart attack and I decided this is where I was going to go, I'm like, I have to write this down. So I highly recommend that people get out a piece of paper and just start by writing bucket list on it and putting it someplace where you always see it, whether it's on your desk or on your mirror, in the bathroom, whatever it is, because then you've left space for it, right? You're holding space for that list, where if something does come to your head, it's like, oh, I need to put it on my bucket list. Oh, I have a bucket list. So I go over right now and I'm going to write that down. It can be in your computer. It can be on your phone too. That's what people, I highly recommend writing it down, because it's super satisfying after you've written it down, and you can cross it off and like actually drawing the line through it and saying, okay, yeah, I did this. It's fun to be able to do that. So I think that's important. I think as you start thinking about things about your bucket list and what to put on there, it's, what are you already into, right? What have you already said? Oh, I'd love to do this. Or what are you already into? So it's like my friend who plays golf, right? He wants to play around in every single state in the United States. That's his bucket list. That's his bucket list, period. Like, there's nothing else on his bucket list except, researching what's the best course in each state to play at, and how much does it cost? And I mean, that's what he spends his time doing when he's talking about his bucket list. He's talking about playing rounds of golf around the United States. Great. Fantastic. If you're into cooking and you want to learn a certain kind of cuisine, then just put all the recipes up there that you want to learn how to do all that. It doesn't have to be this grand. I think sometimes we think of this bucket list as like, we got to go visit the pyramids, or we've got to go do the Camino de Santiago. We got to do these grand things. And it really doesn't have to be. It can be as simple as, I haven't talked to this person in 20 years. I need to talk to this person. I'm gonna get in touch with this. I'm gonna find this person on Facebook and get in contact with them. Right? It doesn't have to be these grand gestures of travel and doing these amazing things that take all this energy and money. It can be really simple things too. And so it's just, what are you already into? What do you like doing? What have you said you've always wanted to do? And that's how you can start that list.
How long should it be? Do you have a recommendation? Because I
No.
suspect you want to add one when you take one. If it's like 3 things and you cross one off, you want to add one so that you never go, well, I'm done. I guess I can die now.
Yeah, I because it's, I did the Camino de Santiago. It took me almost a whole year to like save the money, buy the stuff, go do the walk, do all that kind of stuff. I also had getting knuckle tattoos on my list. That took me $200 and an hour, right? So there's all different kinds of things on your list that required different things. For me, it's like, how do I cross them off in a way that not that I prolong crossing things off, but how do I cross things off in a manner that takes time so that I can keep going. But yeah, I think that's a big mindset thing too, as far as just, you can always add things to it. You can take things off too, right? I mean, if you get to the point where you can't, like something happens and you can't walk the Camino because of physical stuff, then you cross it off, and it's okay that you didn't get there, or you didn't make that happen. So I think that it's the mindset of it can change, right? I think our culture, like, I know when I was working in the corporate culture, it was like, I never wanted to write anything down in an email. I hated sending emails, because as soon as you put an email, everyone's like, oh, well, that's what we're doing. That's, that's exactly it. We can't change it. It's in an email. It's like, well, no, I was just giving you an idea or kind of pointing direction. It wasn't like I wanted this to be part of the 10 Commandments or anything. It was just like, it's just words on a piece of paper. It's okay. We can change them. So sometimes people have a hard time with that. And once it gets on paper, changing it. And I think you have to get over that real quick, that you have to say, okay, this is changeable. It can change. It can morph. It can turn into something different, or I can get a better idea, right, of doing something. And that's okay. And then the last thing you talked about, telling people. I'm one person that really believes that you need to be careful on who you tell your dreams to and who you tell your stuff to. It's not that people are intentionally hateful or mean. It's just sometimes when they can't do things, or they can't see themselves doing things, they want to make it hard for other people to do those things as well. And so I think we all probably struggle with enough negative self-talk ourselves to include people that we know are probably not going to support us or have questions, or those kind of things. To invite them into that space can be really devastating. So I always say, who do you know that really loves you, really cares for you, wants you to be happy, wants the best for you? You can share your list with those people. I think that's perfectly fine. For accountability is good, and just excitement and encouragement. But airing it out to the whole world, like I wouldn't post it on Facebook or Instagram, I don't think that's necessarily the best idea.